Question: what is the most important thing a public speaker does? Whenever I'm asked that question, often at a party, I respond 3 things. Prepare, prepare, and prepare. Take a look at page 4 of your copy of Empowering Speech, Directive 3. A public speaker's preparation is the key to presentation success. Preparation is the most important thing a speaker does to ensure successful presentations every time they stand up and speak. And time management is the foundation of preparation. Time must immediately be acknowledged and managed accordingly. How many days, weeks, or months do I have to prepare my presentation? How long is the presentation supposed to be? At what time and on what day am I supposed to stand up and speak? What day will I commit to having my outline done? What day will I commit to having my research done, my PowerPoint, my practice, everything that I need to make sure I do before I step up and speak? How am I going to commit to managing my clock and my calendar to do it accordingly? Time management. Students will often ask me, how do I get better at time management? I say, get a watch and look at it. They'll often respond, I have a smartphone, it's got a clock on it. There's nothing more convicting than a wristwatch that reminds you that time is constantly moving. When I ran the speech team, we had a policy: always early, never late. Early is on time. On time is late, and late is not an option. Anyone who wanted to speak on my team and represent Valley College always had to show me or one of the other coaches their speech 2 weeks before the competition to let us know that they were indeed ready to stand and deliver. This ensured 2 things. 1, that they were successful and had a great time. And 2, they made Valley College look good. Time management is everything in speech. And with that, sometimes you may even want to consider the notion of purposeful neglect. Purposeful neglect. What do you think I mean by purposeful neglect? Well, I'll tell you. Years ago, I was watching a fairly famous speaker be interviewed in front of an audience of about 5,000. He was asked, what is the secret to your communicative success? He quickly said, purposeful neglect. Everybody in the audience, myself included, was like, what the heck is that? And the interviewer even said, well, can you explain? He said, yes. When I have to give an important presentation, I neglect everything. I neglect the TV. I neglect the golf course. I neglect recreational reading. I neglect everything I enjoy doing until I am ready to step up on that stage and deliver the best speech I could possibly give. I thought to myself, wow, can you imagine how great you could be at anything you wanted to be if you were willing to give it that kind of commitment? Obviously, you're not going to commit, you're not going to purposely neglect life for every presentation you deliver. You probably won't do it for this class. But in the real world, I can't stress how much your life can change when you step up and give a solid presentation. I've seen countless lives changed because of wonderful speeches. So with that considered, even in this class, those of you who are shooting for a high A, maybe consider the notion of purposeful neglect. What is so important in life that you can't focus on a presentation that you have to give and look your very best when you do it? Years ago, I was blessed with probably the greatest example I personally know of personal neglect. Purposeful neglect, that is. which I would also argue is personal neglect. I'm thinking about this gentleman now. He called me October of 2019. He wanted help with a 3-minute speech. A speech to be delivered 6 months later. This guy wanted help on a 3-minute speech 6 months before he was to deliver it. I thought to myself, wow, this guy is over the top, but I wasn't going to tell him that if he wanted to pay me. Anyways, a month into working with this gentleman, I went from thinking he is over the top to thinking, wow, there is a reason he is one of the most celebrated soldiers on the planet, and I'm not. There's a reason he's one of the most decorated surgeons on the planet, and I'm not. And there's a reason that he was invited to speak at Harvard, and I haven't been invited to speak at Harvard. This guy was so focused on excellence that he wanted help on a 3-minute speech 6 months before he was to deliver it. A speech that totally brought down the house. With that, when you are given the opportunity to use your voice in a real-world setting, consider the notion of purposeful neglect. You might just end up changing your life. But the bottom line for our purposes here and in this class, time management is the key to putting together a successful presentation. Take a look at what the Kashmir Images of India, August 18th, 2023 says at the bottom of page 4. Attention management is the art of focusing on getting things done for the right reasons, in the right places, at the right moments. I can't think of this applying more importantly to anything than a speech. With that, look also what it says at the bottom, own the burden of your success. With that, preparation is so important. We've got another page to look at. Turn to page 5. A public speaker must prepare on 3 levels, emotional, mental, and physical. I gotta tell you, and some of you will experience it, when you properly give a speech, when you're done, it feels like you have run a marathon because it is emotionally, mentally, and physically draining. I can't stress that enough, which is why you want to be ready, prepared emotionally, mentally, and physically. So how do we properly prepare for level 1, the emotional level? Acknowledge your fear. We've talked about that. Address your fear. We've talked about how to do that. Visit the speaking location. I can't stress this enough. Being familiar with your speaking location when you step up to speak, it makes the room yours, and therefore makes you more confident and emotionally stable. It helps you to deal with your nerves. So anytime you can visit a speaking location before you speak, do so. In best case scenario, practice your speech at the speaking location and look your very best. Again, we feel how we look. So when we're doing the number 1 fear in life, doesn't it make sense that we want to look our very best? Moving on to the mental level. Analyze your audience. We talked about that already. Embrace direction and have direction. What do you think I mean by that? Embrace direction, have direction. Embrace direction simply means do what you've been told to do. If you've been asked to speak about apples, don't stand up and speak about bananas, especially at work. Do whatever your boss has asked you to do. And the next part of that, have direction. What do you think I mean by that? Have direction. Here it is. Public speakers must have a plan for putting together and delivering their presentations. When you leave this class, you will both have a plan in your hand and hopefully in your head, because everything we're doing in here is really simple. And I promise you, if you do it, it'll be locked in your head like your simple arithmetic or basic math or basic English. You know, the simple things in school that are foundational to everything, this will be that for you if you apply it. Practice internally. Practice internally, still on the mental level, level 2. What that simply means is to think about your words. Like the night before your presentation, think about your words as you're falling asleep. That will help cement them into your head. You know, this is my introduction. This is my thesis, my preview, my body points, etc. Just thinking about the words soaks them in mentally. Moving on to the physical level. Eat well. Sleep well. You know, there's a saying, the car is not going to get from point A to point B without proper fuel. The body works the same way. So you want to eat before any time you speak. You want to sleep. Practice externally. We already talked about practicing internally. That's thinking the words. Practicing externally is actually speaking the words. Standing up and practicing your presentation. I always tell my speech competitors and my clients in the real world, excellence is the standard for your practice. To the speech competitors, if you're practicing like you want a gold medal, you will perform like you want a gold medal, and you will win the gold medal. If you practice with your feet up on the couch, a glass of wine, the TV on, that is how you are going to perform. Our bodies and our minds have muscle memory. If excellence is your standard for practice, excellence will be your standard when you speak. Now look at what it says in bold letters, standing out more than all of the other bullet points. Exercise will enhance all of the above. I can't stress this enough. Exercise is a magic bullet for our brains. And can you think of a more important magic bullet for the brain to be needed than with public speaking? And I realized this as a coach years ago. In 2006, our speech team was getting ready to go to the state championship tournament. Well, we did go to the state championship tournament at Cal State Sacramento. Valley College took 13 students there. And the way these tournaments work is students will compete Wednesday through Sunday, depending on how competitive they are. Most of the students stop speaking around Thursday night because after that it's quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, different levels of success chasing after those awards. Anyways, these competitions can also turn into gigantic parties. You've got college students from all over California staying in the same hotel for almost a week. And the one thing they have in common is they like to communicate. So you can understand how it can sometimes get out of control and just turn into a big party. I used to say there's a reason I teach college. I'm not a babysitter. Well, following this competition, I would become a babysitter. We had 13 students with about 50 or more speeches in total. Valley College brought home one award, a bronze, because my students had chosen to party like rock stars rather than properly compete. And needless to say, the department and the school were very upset with the performance. And I was in charge of the team. So the heat was on. Long story short, we were headed to Kansas City in 3 weeks to the national championship tournament. I had to figure out how I was going to get these students to not party like rock stars until there was a reason to do so. Anyways, I put together a contract that they had to sign before I would hand them their plane tickets, their keys to their 5-star hotel, their spending money, not to mention the absolute privilege of going to the national championship competition for public speaking. Also on the contract, it said they had to meet me in the hotel gym every morning at 6:30 a.m. for speech team workout. They were not happy about that, but they did it. And Valley College overall with all of our bronze, silver, and gold medals, won a team bronze medal, basically making us third in the nation at this competition. And I thought, woohoo, kept him sober. I didn't think much about it until the following year. We were getting ready to go to nationals again. There was a young lady on the team. Her name was Brianna Evigan. Today, she's a very successful actress. She would star in the Step Up dance movies. She was on our speech team at the time. Anyways, before we were headed to nationals again, this time Houston, Texas, she came into my office and she said, "Hey, Coach, are we going to have speech team boot camp again at nationals?" And I thought, I don't even know what she's talking about. I said, "Brianna, what are you talking about?" She looked at me kind of deflated and she said, "Oh, when you get all hardcore about speech and make us go to the gym and everything." I thought, oh my goodness, they liked it. So I said, "Yeah, we're going to have speech team boot camp again." And that year, 2007, Valley College won the team silver medal. That year, I got home and I decided I was going to do a little research. I thought, I wonder if there's more to this exercise and presenting oneself well. Anyways, I came across an article in Scientific America about how exercise enhances the brain. Specifically, it talked about how when oxygen pumps through the body effectively, not only does it make the body look alive and strong, but it promotes clarity on the brain. At that moment, I knew as long as I'm running the team, exercise has to be policy with our speech team. The following year, 2008, Valley College won the overall title, making us the #1 program in the nation, winning a gold team medal. We would go on to win that gold team medal again 2009, 2011, and 2012. And I know it was the exercise, not the exercise, but the exercise greatly contributed to the success of my students. And for those of you who are allergic to the word exercise, good news. It's not about getting all hardcore. It's just about a little bit of movement. And studies have shown the best movement is simply walking. Simply taking a walk before you do a presentation. Finding a flight of stairs before you do a presentation. Promise you, it works like steroids. And with that, there's a ton of research exploding about how this works. Take a look at the blue bubble at the bottom of the page. A new study which involved scanning the brains of more than 10,000 healthy men and women from ages 18 to 97 found that those who walked, swam, cycled, or otherwise worked out moderately for 25 minutes a week had bigger brains than those who didn't, whatever their ages. The differences were most pronounced in the parts of the brain that involved thinking and memory. 25 minutes a day of 25 minutes, sorry, not of a day, 25 minutes a week of exercise will help your brain. Don't you want that? And not just for this class, but all your classes in life. That was from the Washington Post, January 24th, 2024. And look what the New York Times said on April 2nd, 2024. Exercise offers short-term boosts of cognition. Studies show that immediately after a bout of physical activity, people perform better on tests of working memory and other executive functions. Really consider the benefits of exercise for your preparation, and not just for speeches in this class, but for life. And with that, I end with, look at the bottom in yellow, own the burden of your success.